Welcome to class, everyone. Today's explainer is diving into a massive, honestly, almost unbelievable shift in human history. We're going to uncover exactly how Europe transformed from a messy collection of sprawling, disconnected empires into the modern countries, the nation-states, that we easily recognize on a map today. Here's our roadmap for today's lesson. We'll start with the dream of nations, move into defining the old world, and compare empires versus nation-states. Then we'll ask, what is a nation? Jump into a student activity to create your own symbols, and finish up with a quick knowledge check.
All right, part one, the dream of nations, a utopian vision.
Let's kick things off by checking out a fascinating primary source document from 1848. The French artist Frédéric Soriot created this incredible print called The Dream of Worldwide Democratic and Social Republics. He is literally illustrating his ultimate dream for the future. A world made up of distinct democratic nations marching together in total harmony.
If you look closely at the details here, notice how the people are grouped by their distinct national flags and costumes, walking peacefully right past the Statue of Liberty. And look right down there in the foreground. You can see the broken, shattered symbols of monarchs and royal crowns just discarded on the ground. It's this powerful, vivid metaphor for completely leaving the old world behind.
Moving right along to part two, defining the old world, specifically absolutist regimes.
Now, before that beautiful dream of distinct nations could ever become a reality, we really need to understand the harsh political systems of the old world that these people were actively rebelling against. Back then, most of Europe was ruled by absolutist governments. In simple terms, an absolutist system is a highly centralized, heavily militarized, and repressive monarchy. The king or emperor exercises total, unchecked power over their subjects. We're talking absolutely zero restraints.
Because these absolutist regimes had such an iron grip across the continent in 1848, Soriot's beautiful print of peaceful, cooperating democratic nations was considered entirely utopian by the people of his time. Utopian basically means a vision of a society that is so wonderfully ideal, it's highly unlikely to actually exist in reality. It was a fantastic dream for sure, but seemingly impossible to achieve. That brings us to part three, empires versus nation-states, the Great Shift.
So how did the map of Europe completely transform from those rigid old empires to the new nations we know today? Well, in the old system, you had dynastic empires, like the vast Habsburg Empire. These were autocratic systems ruling over highly diverse, unconnected groups whose only real bond was a forced allegiance to an emperor. The Great Shift was moving toward modern nation-states. This is where citizens actually share a common, sovereign identity rooted in shared history. People suddenly realized they wanted to be bonded by a shared nationalist identity, rather than just being subjects of some distant king. It was a real game changer.
Which leads us perfectly into part four. What is a nation? Let's look at Ernst Renan's view.
How exactly do we define that shared nationalist identity anyway? What actually makes a group of people a nation? French philosopher Ernst Renan gave a really famous lecture in 1882 to answer just that. He pushed back against the idea that a nation is just about speaking the same language or belonging to the same race. Instead, he argued that a nation is the culmination of a long past of endeavors, sacrifice, and devotion. He said it's about having common glories in the past and having a common will in the present. He firmly believed it's deeply tied to shared history and the daily choices we make.
Let's break his 19th century philosophy down into simple terms. Basically, a true nation requires three crucial things. First, a shared heroic past and historical sacrifices. Second, a common will in the present day, meaning a conscious choice to be together right now. And third, the collective desire to achieve great things together in the future. It's not just about where you're from, it's about what you are actively choosing to build together.
All right, part five, student activity. Time to create your symbols.
Okay, class, now it's time to put these historical concepts to the test. I want you to imagine that our classroom, or your local community, is breaking away right now to form a brand new independent nation-state. How would you forge your own nationalist identity?
Here are your instructions, and I want you to have a lot of fun with this. First, design your own national flag. Think about what specific colors and shapes represent your values. Second, choose symbols that represent your community's shared history, just like Ernst Renan talked about. And third, illustrate your own utopian vision for our community, kind of like the artist Frédéric Soriot did back in 1848. Think deeply about what truly unites us all.
And finally, part six, a quick knowledge check to test your memory. Let's wrap up today's explainer with a quick pop quiz to see what's stuck with you. Question 1. Based on our earlier definitions, what are the primary characteristics of an absolutist system of rule? Think about the level of control a monarch has over the people.
Question 2. What was the major difference between being a subject in a sprawling, dynastic empire versus being a citizen in a modern nation-state? Consider what naturally bonds people together versus what forces them together. And question 3, a lingering thought to leave you with for our next class. Looking back at Renan's philosophy, is a nation simply about your background and language, or is it a daily, conscious choice driven by shared devotion and a will to build a future together? Keep that in mind as you work on your classroom flags, and I will see you all in the next lesson.